In a school divided by social class, a girl is mocked for claiming her father is a millionaire. When her story is questioned by the teacher, the custodian's daughter stands up to defend her. She reveals that she knows the girl's father and, with courage, validates her story, earning respect. With the arrival of the millionaire father, the class learns a lesson about respect, humility, and the importance of supporting others. If this beautiful story of overcoming adversity and love has caught your interest, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and let us know which city you're watching from. Continuing. The afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows of St. Christopher's Primary School in the Notting Hill neighbourhood of London. It was March of 2010, and the school year was just beginning. In the Year 6 Class B classroom, the teacher, Mrs. Martha, was assigning seats while observing the students with her discerning gaze. She had been teaching there for 15 years and believed she knew the profile of every family that attended the institution very well. Among the students, two girls stood out for completely different reasons. Sophia Middleton had arrived just a week ago, transferred from a private school in central London. Her brown hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, and she carried a designer backpack that contrasted with the simple school supplies of most of her classmates. She always sat upright, with a confident posture, but her eyes revealed an anxiety she tried to hide. On the other side of the room, Beatrice Smith discreetly occupied a desk at the back. The daughter of Mrs. Evans, the school's cleaner, she had known every hallway, every classroom, every corner of that building since she was a little girl. Her uniforms were always impeccable, ironed and cared for by her mother with special affection, but they were visibly more worn than those of the other students. Beatrice had large, expressive eyes that observed everything with a surprising maturity for her 12 years. The class dynamic was already established. On one side were the children of the local shopkeepers, who considered themselves superior to the others. On the other were the children from simpler families who attended the state school out of necessity, not choice. Sophia had not yet found her place in this informal hierarchy, which made her even more uncomfortable. On that particular afternoon, Mrs. Martha announced a special activity. "Today you will present your parents' professions," she said, adjusting her glasses on her nose. "I want each of you to bring something that represents your family's work and explain it to the class. This will help us get to know each other better." The weeks that followed were of intense preparation. Sophia dedicated herself to the project with a seriousness that caught Beatrice's attention. She watched her during breaks, organizing papers and photos in an elegant folder, rehearsing her presentation in a low voice. There was something in that girl's determination that sparked Beatrice's curiosity. Beatrice, for her part, prepared her own presentation with limited resources, but with a lot of love. Her mother helped her every night after work, telling stories about the importance of keeping the school clean and organized so that everyone could learn in a proper environment. Mrs. Evans always emphasized that there was no small job, only small-minded people. On the day of the presentations, the tension in the room was palpable. The first students spoke about parents who were merchants, mechanics, salespeople. Each presentation was met with polite interest from the teacher and whispered comments among the classmates. The atmosphere was calm until it was Sophia's turn. She stood up gracefully, holding her folder of documents like a treasure. Her eyes shone with a mixture of pride and nervousness. "I'm going to talk about my father, Robert Middleton," she began, her voice firm and clear. "He works in the financial sector and is responsible for investments for large companies." Sophia opened the folder and began to show photographs. They were images of an elegant man in a dark suit, alongside other well-dressed people at sophisticated events, offices with city views, meetings in conference rooms, dinners in luxury hotels. "My father travels all over the country making important deals. He helps companies grow and creates jobs for many people." The silence in the room became heavy. Some students exchanged distrustful glances. How could a girl who attended a state school have such a successful father? Mrs. Martha frowned, examining the photos with growing skepticism. "He has worked with famous banks," Sophia continued, showing a photo where her father appeared in front of a glass-fronted building in the city's financial district. "And he participates in conferences where they discuss the future of the British economy. My father always Says that knowledge is the greatest investment we can make. It was then that the first snickers began to spread through the room. Julia, the daughter of the corner bakery's owner, whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Seriously? Your dad's a millionaire and you study here?" Other classmates began to murmur sarcastic comments. "If he's so rich, why aren't you in a private school?" asked another boy, provoking more laughter. Sophia felt a blush creep up her cheeks, but she maintained her posture. "My father believes in quality public education," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "He always says that what's important isn't where we study, but how we take advantage of opportunities." Mrs. Martha crossed her arms and tilted her head with an expression that mixed disbelief and irritation. "Sophia," she said in a condescending tone, "this all seems a bit fanciful, don't you think? A girl like you making up these stories about her father. How about you tell us something more real, something you can actually prove?" The silence that followed was devastating. Sophia felt her legs tremble and tears begin to well up in her eyes. All the confidence she had built up over weeks of preparation crumbled in the face of collective disbelief. She looked around the room searching for a friendly face, but found only mocking smiles and superior glances. "Teacher, maybe Sophia should present her dad's real profession," Julia suggested maliciously, "or she can make up another story for next time." The laughter intensified, and Sophia felt herself shrink in the face of so much cruelty. It was at that moment that Beatrice, who until then had been watching everything in silence from the back of the room, slowly stood up. Her dark eyes shone with a determination that surprised everyone. She had recognized the man in the photographs. Not just recognized, she knew him personally. The room fell silent as Beatrice began to walk towards the front of the class. Each step echoed in the tense atmosphere, and all eyes turned to the cleaner's daughter, who dared to interfere in the situation. Sophia watched her with surprise and a hint of hope. "Don't laugh at her," Beatrice said in a calm but firm voice. "I know Sophia's father. He really is a millionaire." The statement landed like a bombshell in the room. Mrs. Martha's jaw dropped and the students looked at each other, confused. How could the cleaner's daughter know a millionaire? Beatrice continued, addressing the teacher directly. "Mr. Middleton has been here several times. He always greets my mother when he comes to pick Sophia up or to deal with something at the school office. He even talked to me once about the books I was reading." She paused and looked around the room seriously. "He is a very kind person and always treats everyone with respect, no matter our profession." Mrs. Martha shifted uncomfortably in her chair. The confidence with which Beatrice spoke was disconcerting. There was no hesitation in her voice, no sign that she was making it up or exaggerating. "Beatrice, are you sure about what you're saying?" the teacher asked, trying to maintain her authority. "I'm absolutely sure," Beatrice replied, looking directly into the teacher's eyes. "My mother always taught me that we should treat everyone with dignity, regardless of their social status. Mr. Middleton does exactly that. He has never shown prejudice or contempt for anyone here at the school." Sophia watched this brave girl with a mixture of gratitude and admiration. Someone she barely knew was risking her own reputation to defend her. It was a gesture of generosity she had never experienced before, not even among her old friends from the private school. The atmosphere in the room had changed completely. The laughter had stopped, and a palpable discomfort filled the air. The students no longer knew how to react, and Mrs. Martha was clearly struggling between maintaining her position or backing down in the face of Beatrice's firmness. "Besides," Beatrice continued, her voice gaining even more strength, "even if Sophia's father wasn't a millionaire, that wouldn't give anyone the right to laugh at her or disbelieve her word. We all deserve respect, no matter our background or our financial situation." Beatrice's words echoed through the room like a direct challenge to the attitudes that had been displayed. Sophia felt her tears of humiliation turn into tears of emotion. For the first time since she had arrived at that school, someone had truly taken her side. It was at that exact moment that the classroom door opened softly. A tall man in an impeccably tailored dark suit entered the room with firm yet respectful steps. It was Robert Middleton, exactly as he appeared in the photographs Sophia had shown, but with an even more imposing presence in person. The silence became absolute. Even the noise from the streets outside seemed to have ceased. Robert observed the scene before him. His daughter standing at the front of the class, visibly shaken, an unknown girl beside her in a protective stance, a clearly embarrassed teacher, and a room full of students with expressions ranging from surprise to shame. "Good afternoon," Robert said in a soft voice that carried a natural authority. "I apologize for the interruption. I came to pick up my daughter for a doctor's appointment that was moved up." He went directly to Sophia, running a caring hand through her hair. "How was your presentation, Princess?" Sophia looked up at her father with eyes shining with emotion. "It was interesting, Dad," she replied, trying to smile through it all. Robert immediately sensed that something had happened. His experienced gaze captured the nuances of the situation, the tension in the air, Beatrice's defensive posture, the teacher's evident discomfort. "Mr. Middleton," Mrs. Martha stammered, trying to regain her composure. What a coincidence for you to show up right now." Robert observed her with a penetrating look that revealed his analytical skills, developed over years of complex negotiations. "It's not quite a coincidence," Robert replied calmly. "Sophia told me about today's presentation, and I was anxious to hear how it went." He paused deliberately, letting his words hang in the air. "My daughter is very proud of my work, just as I am very proud of her." Robert then turned to Beatrice, who was still standing next to Sophia. "You must be Beatrice, Mrs. Evans's daughter," he said, with a genuine smile. "My daughter has told me a lot about you. Mrs. Evans is an extraordinary person, always very helpful and kind to me." Beatrice nodded shyly, still processing the surreal situation of talking to a millionaire in front of the whole class. "Thank you, Mr. Middleton," she replied respectfully. Robert looked around the room, observing each face attentively. His experience in boardrooms had taught him to read people and situations with precision. "I hope everyone learned something important today," he said, addressing the entire class, "about not judging others by their appearances or circumstances, about treating people with dignity, regardless of their social position." Mrs. Martha shifted uncomfortably, clearly sensing the indirect criticism in his words. Robert continued, "I've worked in the financial market for over 20 years, and one of the most important lessons I've learned is that a person's character has nothing to do with their bank account. The most upstanding and generous people I've met are often those with the fewest material resources." He paused and looked directly at Beatrice. "Like the young lady who just demonstrated admirable courage by defending my daughter. That is a value that no money can buy." Sophia felt a wave of pride for her father and gratitude for Beatrice. That moment was changing something profound in her perception of friendship, loyalty, and courage. She had never experienced such pure and selfless solidarity as what Beatrice had shown. Robert addressed the teacher again. "I hope we can continue to build a learning environment based on mutual respect," he said diplomatically, but with a firmness that left no room for interpretation. "After all, true education goes far beyond academic content." With those words, Robert extended his hand to Sophia, who moved closer to him, still processing everything that had happened. Before leaving, she turned to Beatrice and whispered a thank you filled with emotion. Beatrice responded with a shy but warm smile, sealing a bond between them that began at that very moment. In the days following that remarkable event in the classroom, the dynamic at St. Christopher's Primary School changed in a subtle but noticeable way. Sophia and Beatrice became the center of whispered conversations in the hallways, but now for completely different reasons. Curiosity had replaced disdain, and respect began to blossom where prejudice had once existed. Sophia arrived at school each morning with a new feeling in her chest. For the first time since her transfer, she no longer felt that knot in her stomach when she passed groups of classmates. People's gazes had changed. Some still kept their distance, but it was no longer out of disbelief or mockery. It was a mixture of respect and genuine curiosity about who she really was. Beatrice, for her part, was discovering a side of herself she hadn't known. The courage she had shown that day seemed to have opened an internal door, revealing a strength she had always possessed, but had never fully exercised. Her mother, Mrs. Evans, noticed the change immediately. "You're different, dear," she said one morning as they prepared breakfast together. "More confident, more yourself." The first real connection between the two girls happened on a rainy Tuesday during break time. Sophia was sitting alone in the library, leafing through a literature book, when Beatrice approached hesitantly. "May I sit here?" she asked, pointing to the chair beside her. "Of course," Sophia replied, closing the book and turning completely towards Beatrice. "I wanted to thank you for what you did last week. No one has ever stood up for me like that." Her words were filled with sincere emotion. Beatrice looked down, still shy. "It was nothing. I couldn't stand there and watch them laugh at you when I knew you were telling the truth." She paused and looked directly at Sophia. "Besides, my mum always taught me that we have to stand up when we see injustice." The conversation flowed naturally from there. Sophia discovered that Beatrice was a voracious reader, just like her. Even with limited resources, Beatrice knew the public library better than anyone, and had read classics that many of Sophia's classmates from her old private school had never dreamed of touching. "Charles Dickens is my favorite author," Beatrice revealed, her eyes shining. "The way he portrays British society is brilliant." Sophia was impressed. "I tried reading David Copperfield last year, but I found it difficult," she admitted. "Could you help me understand it better?" "Of course," Beatrice replied enthusiastically. "We can read it together. I have a copy from the public library I can lend you." That simple exchange marked the beginning of a routine that would become sacred to them both. Every day during break, they would meet in the library to talk about books, dreams, and life. Sophia discovered that Beatrice had a profound understanding of social issues she had never considered. Beatrice, in turn, was fascinated by the stories Sophia told about her father's travels and the different places she had seen. "What's it like to live in so many different places?" Beatrice asked during one of these conversations. Sophia sighed. "It's interesting, but it's also lonely. You never put down deep roots anywhere. This is the first time I feel like I might have a real friendship." She looked at Beatrice with sincerity. "With you, I can be myself without having to prove anything." Mrs. Martha observed this growing friendship with conflicting feelings. On one hand, she was clearly embarrassed by the episode from the previous week. On the other, she couldn't hide a certain surprise at how the two girls complemented each other academically. Sophia helped Beatrice with maths and English, subjects where her private school background made a difference. Beatrice, in turn, assisted Sophia with history and British literature, areas where her self-taught knowledge proved exceptional. The first paired project came as a gift from fate. The science teacher, Mrs. Helen, announced a project on sustainability to be presented in 2 weeks. "You can form your own pairs," she said, and Sophia and Beatrice immediately looked at each other with a shared understanding. "Want to be my partner?" Sophia asked with a hopeful smile. "I thought you'd never ask," Beatrice replied, laughing. They decided to meet at Beatrice's house to work on the project. Sophia had never visited the simple flat where Beatrice lived with her mother, in a housing estate 15 minutes from the school. When she arrived on a Thursday afternoon, she was impressed not by the modest size of the place, but by the evident care in every detail. Mrs. Evans had prepared a special snack to welcome the daughter of Mr. Middleton, as she respectfully referred to Sophia's father. The table was set with the best tablecloth in the house, and there were homemade coconut sweets still warm from the oven. "Mrs. Evans, this is wonderful!" Sophia exclaimed, genuinely delighted. "It's been a long time since I've had such a delicious homemade treat." Mrs. Evans smiled with pride. "My mother taught me this recipe when I was a girl. It's simple, but made with love." She observed Sophia with warm curiosity. "Beatrice tells me you're working on a project together. It's so good that she has such a special friend." During the hours that followed, working on the sustainability project, Sophia and Beatrice discovered they made a perfect team. Sophia brought her research and organizational skills, while Beatrice contributed creative insights and a practical view of urban environmental problems. "What if we proposed a composting project for the school?" Beatrice suggested. "My mum always complains about the food waste she sees here." "Brilliant," Sophia replied, excited. "My dad knows people who work in waste management. Maybe he can help us with technical information." The mention of Sophia's father brought a natural pause to the conversation. Beatrice looked at her with curiosity. "Sophia, can I ask you something? Why do you study at a state school if your dad can afford a private one?" Sophia sighed, putting her pen down. "It's a long story. My dad grew up in a very simple family. He went to state schools his whole life and got a scholarship for university. He always says it was public education that gave him the foundation for everything he's achieved." She paused, organizing her thoughts. "When we moved to London, he insisted on enrolling me in a good state school. He said it was important for me to know the reality of most British people." "And you, what do you think about that?" Beatrice asked, genuinely interested. Sophia reflected for a moment. "At first, I admit I was upset. I missed the resources of the private school, the modern labs, the language classes." She smiled at Beatrice. "But now I understand what my dad meant. Here I'm learning things I would never learn in a social bubble. I'm learning about real people." That evening, when Sophia arrived home, she found her father in his study, reviewing financial reports. Robert looked up as she entered, immediately noticing the different glow on his daughter's face. "How was the project with Beatrice?" he asked, putting his papers aside. "It was amazing, Dad. She's so smart and has fantastic ideas." Sophia sat in the armchair opposite her father's desk. "You know, I understood today why you put me in that school." Robert raised his eyebrows, interested. "Oh, really? And what was your conclusion?" "That true friendship has nothing to do with money or social status. Beatrice defended me that day because she saw an injustice, not because I was someone rich's daughter." Sophia paused, emotional. "She defended me because it was the right thing to do." Robert smiled, his heart warming with pride. "That's a lesson worth more than any course or private school, Princess. You're discovering the value of authentic human relationships." "Can I invite Beatrice and Mrs. Evans over for dinner sometime soon?" Sophia asked, hopeful. "Of course you can. It would be an honor to have them in our home." The following week, the presentation of the sustainability project was an absolute success. Sophia and Beatrice proposed not only a composting system for the school, but also an environmental education program that would involve the entire school community. Mrs. Helen was so impressed that she suggested they present the project to the school's headmaster. "Girls, you've created something truly special here," Mrs. Helen said, examining the carefully prepared material. "The research is solid, but what impresses me most is the practical viability of your proposals. You've thought of every detail." Other students in the class began to approach Sophia and Beatrice more naturally. Julia, the same girl who had mocked Sophia weeks earlier, apologized genuinely. "I behaved very badly that day," she said, clearly embarrassed. "It was prejudiced and cruel of me, I'm sorry." Sophia forgave her readily, but it was Beatrice who surprised everyone with her response. "The important thing is that we all learned something about making snap judgments. Now we can be real friends." Beatrice's maturity and generosity left a deep impression on everyone who witnessed that moment. The girl who had been seen as just the cleaner's daughter was emerging as a natural leader, someone whose opinion and friendship were genuinely valued. During the break that afternoon, Sophia and Beatrice were sitting in the schoolyard when Sophia asked a question that had been on her mind for days. "Bea, do you have dreams? Plans for the future?" Beatrice smiled shyly. "I dream of going to university to study. Law, I want to be a lawyer and help people who need justice, but don't have the resources to pay for it." She paused. "I know it's a big dream for someone like me, but—" "Don't say that," Sophia interrupted firmly. "You're one of the smartest people I know. If anyone can do it, it's you." She held her friend's hand. "And you know what? My dad always says that investing in education is the best deal there is. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you about scholarships and opportunities." Beatrice felt her eyes well up with tears. "Sophia, would you do that for me?" "Of course, we're friends, aren't we? Friends help each other achieve their dreams." That simple exchange sealed between them a commitment that transcended ordinary friendship. They were building a life partnership based on mutual support and belief in each other's potential. When the bell rang, signaling the end of the break, the two walked back to the classroom arm in arm, completely oblivious to the curious and admiring glances they attracted. The millionaire's daughter and the cleaner's daughter had become a living example that true friendship knows no social barriers. That afternoon, Mrs. Martha watched the two working together on a maths activity and finally admitted to herself what she should have realized from the beginning. Some of the most important lessons are not in textbooks, but in the human relationships that form when we set aside our prejudices and embrace diversity. The second month of school was ending, and Sophia could no longer imagine her life without Beatrice's friendship. They had created a world of their own, where social differences didn't matter, and where each could be completely authentic. It was the beginning of a journey that would transform not only their own lives, but also the lives of everyone around them. The dinner at the Middletons' house took place on a Friday night at the end of May. Sophia had planned every detail with the care of someone organizing an event of extreme personal importance. She wanted Beatrice and Mrs. Evans to feel completely at ease in her home, but at the same time she was nervous about how the interaction between such different worlds would play out. The Middletons' house was in a gated community in Kensington, with well-manicured gardens and a stunning view of the city. When Beatrice and her mother arrived, driven by the chauffeur Robert had sent to pick them up, they were impressed not just by the luxury, but by the discreet elegance and good taste that permeated every room. Robert welcomed his guests with the same naturalness with which he treated important business partners. "Mrs. Evans, what a pleasure to have you in our home," he said, greeting her with genuine respect. "Sophia has been talking about nothing else for weeks. Beatrice has become a very special part of her life." Mrs. Evans, wearing her best dress and visibly nervous, gradually relaxed in the face of the Middleton family's authentic hospitality. "Mr. Middleton, thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here." She looked around the living room with respectful admiration. "What a beautiful home." "Please, make yourselves comfortable," said Mary, Sophia's mother, emerging from the kitchen with a warm smile. "Sophia has told me so much about you that I feel like I've known you for years." During dinner, the conversation flowed with surprising ease. Robert showed genuine interest in Mrs. Evans's work at the school, asking questions about the challenges of maintaining an educational environment and praising her dedication. "People like you are fundamental for education to work," he said. "Without a clean and organized environment, there is no effective learning." Beatrice, initially shy in the sophisticated setting, soon found herself drawn into the family conversations. Robert asked about her academic plans, and when she mentioned her dream of studying law, his eyes lit up with interest. "Law is a fascinating field," he commented. "I frequently work with lawyers specializing in corporate law. It's a profession that demands a lot of study, but it offers incredible opportunities to make a difference in society." He paused deliberately. "Beatrice, have you researched scholarship programs for higher education?" "A little," Beatrice replied modestly, "but I'm still in year 6. I have plenty of time to think about it." "It's never too early to prepare," Robert said wisely. "If you'd like, I can introduce you to some people who work in educational policy. They could guide you on the best paths to achieve your goals." Mrs. Evans was visibly moved by the offer. "Mr. Middleton, you are very kind. I've always dreamed that my daughter could have opportunities I never had." "And she will," Robert affirmed with conviction. "Beatrice has something that can't be taught: character. With dedication and the right opportunities, she can go as far as she wants." After dinner, while the adults chatted in the living room, Sophia took Beatrice to see her room. It was a large, well-decorated space, with a bookshelf filled with books and a modern computer on the desk. "Wow, Sophia," Beatrice exclaimed, looking at the book collection. "You have a whole library in here." "I haven't even read most of them yet," Sophia admitted with an embarrassed smile. "My dad buys books faster than I can read them." She took a volume from the shelf. "Look, this one is about women who changed British history. I thought you might like to read it." Beatrice took the book carefully, flipping through the pages with reverence. "Can I borrow it?" "Of course. Actually, I wanted to give it to you as a gift." "Sophia, I can't accept this," Beatrice protested. "This book must have been expensive." "Sophia said, using the affectionate nickname she had created for her friend. Gifts between friends are priceless. Besides, I know you'll get much more out of it than I will. That night marked a turning point in the relationship between the two families. Mrs. Evans returned home with a completely new perspective on her daughter's future, while Beatrice had gained not only a book, but a tangible glimpse that her dreams were achievable. In the months that followed, the partnership between Sophia and Beatrice intensified. They created a joint study system that benefited them both. Sophia helped Beatrice with maths and science, while Beatrice assisted Sophia with essay writing and text interpretation. Their report cards reflected this collaboration, with excellent grades in all subjects. Mrs. Martha, who had observed this evolution with growing interest, decided to propose a special challenge for the pair. "Girls," she said one afternoon in August, "the school is going to participate in a county-wide general knowledge competition. I would like you to represent our class." Sophia and Beatrice looked at each other with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "Mrs. Martha, we accept," Sophia replied without hesitation. "When are the tests?" "In October. You'll have 2 months to prepare. It's a serious competition, with private and state schools from all over the county. It will be quite a challenge." Preparing for the competition became a healthy obsession for the two friends. They met every day, after school, alternating between Sophia's house and Beatrice's. Robert, noticing the girls' dedication, hired a private tutor to help them with the more complex subjects. "Dad, you don't have to do this," Sophia protested when she learned of the hiring. "I'm not just doing it for you," Robert replied with a smile. "I'm investing in the future of 2 brilliant young women. Beatrice has just as much potential as you do. She just needs the same opportunities." Mr. Charles, a young, recently graduated teacher, was impressed by the dynamic between the two students. "I've never seen such an efficient study partnership," he commented to Robert after a few weeks. "They complement each other perfectly. Sophia has organization and method. Beatrice has intuition and creativity. Together, they're unbeatable." During one of the study sessions at Beatrice's house, Mrs. Evans prepared a special snack and joined the girls for a break. "You two impress me," she said, looking at the piles of books and notes spread across the table. "When I was your age, I could barely read." "Mrs. Evans," Sophia said seriously, "you've always known the most important things. You taught Beatrice values that aren't learned in books." Beatrice held her mother's hand affectionately. "Mum, everything I am today is thanks to you. This dream of university only exists because you always believed in me." Mrs. Evans felt her eyes fill with tears. Seeing her daughter surrounded by opportunities she had never imagined possible was an overwhelming emotion. "You two are going to go far in life," she said with conviction, "and you're going to help a lot of people along the way." The week of the competition finally arrived. Sophia was nervous in a way she had never experienced before. It wasn't just about winning or losing, but about proving that she and Beatrice deserved to be there, representing not only their school, but also proving that friendship and collaboration could overcome any social barrier. "Bae, what if we don't make it?" Sophia asked on the morning of the test, as they got ready in the school bathroom. "Sophia, look at me," Beatrice said, holding her friend's face in her hands. "We've already won. It doesn't matter what the result is today. We won because we discovered that together we are stronger than we are apart. We won because our friendship has already changed our lives and the lives of those around us." Beatrice's words calmed Sophia instantly. She was right. They had already achieved something far more valuable than any prize. The test took place at University College London in an imposing auditorium that intimidated many of the participants. Sophia and Beatrice, however, felt prepared and confident. They had studied together, grown together, and now they would face this challenge together. The questions covered history, geography, literature, maths, science, and current affairs. Each question was quickly discussed between them before they marked the answer. Their synergy was perfect, built over months of study and companionship. "Question 15, Beatrice read, in a low voice. "Which British author masterfully depicted the social contrasts of the 19th century?" "Charles Dickens," Sophia whispered immediately. "Your specialty." "Question 23, Sophia read. Calculate the value of x in the equation. 8, Beatrice answered without hesitation. You taught me this type. When the test ended, they hugged with relief and satisfaction. They had given it their all, working as a perfect team. The result would be announced in 2 weeks, but they already felt victorious. On the way home, Robert picked them up personally from the university. How did it go? He asked, observing the satisfied looks on the girls' faces. It was amazing, Dad, Sophia replied. We worked like a perfect team. Regardless of the result, Mr. Middleton, it was a wonderful experience, Beatrice added. I never imagined I could participate in something like this. You deserve every opportunity in the world, Robert said, watching them in the rearview mirror, and I'm sure this is just the beginning. 2 weeks later, the school received a call that left everyone euphoric. Sophia and Beatrice had won second place in the county competition, losing by only 2 points to a pair from a renowned private school in EB, London. It was an extraordinary result for a state school. The news spread quickly through the school and the neighborhood. The two friends became local mini-celebrities, a living example that talent and dedication can overcome any resource limitations. During the awards ceremony at the school, held with parents, teachers, and local authorities in attendance, the headmistress gave a moving speech about the power of transformative education. Sophia and Beatrice have shown us that when we unite different talents and perspectives, we create something extraordinary, she said. They represent the best of British education. As the two went up on stage to receive their medals and certificates, Beatrice held Sophia's hand tightly. That moment represented much more than academic recognition. It was the materialization of a friendship that had transcended all barriers and become a transformative force in their lives. In the audience, Robert and Mrs. Evans cried with emotion, united in their pride for the daughters they had raised. Two women from completely different backgrounds, but who shared the same love and dedication for the girls they had brought up. After the ceremony, while everyone celebrated in the schoolyard, Beatrice pulled Sophia to a more private corner. Sophia, I need to tell you something, she said seriously. What is it, Bea? Are you worried about something? Beatrice took a deep breath before continuing. My mum received a job offer in another city. It's a very good opportunity, with a better salary and benefits. But it would mean I'd have to change schools. Sophia felt her world crumble around her. The possibility of losing Beatrice was something she had never considered, and the mere thought left her desperate. When would this happen? At the beginning of next year, if she accepts. Beatrice held her friend's hands. I don't want to go. Sophia, I don't want to leave our friendship, our school, our life here. Sophia hugged her tightly, feeling tears stream down her face. They had just achieved something wonderful together, and now life was threatening to tear them apart. It was the first major obstacle their friendship would have to face, and neither of them knew how to handle the possibility. The weeks following Beatrice's revelation were marked by a silent tension that permeated every meeting between the two friends. Sophia tried to act normally, but Beatrice could see the effort she was making, not to show the desperation she felt. It was as if a shadow had fallen over the joy they had shared after their victory in the competition. Mrs. Evans was visibly torn about the decision she had to make. The offer came from a cleaning company specializing in hospitals based in Manchester. The salary was 40% higher than her current one, included a comprehensive health plan for her and Beatrice, and even offered the possibility of career growth. It was an opportunity that would completely change their lives. Dear, I don't know what to do, Mrs. Evans confessed one evening as they prepared dinner. Together. This opportunity could guarantee a better future for you, especially for your university studies, but I know how you feel about leaving Sophia and everything we've built here. Beatrice stirred the beans on the stove with mechanical movements, lost in conflicting thoughts. Mum, you've always sacrificed everything for me. If this opportunity is good for you, we should take it. Her words were filled with resignation, but also with maturity. I don't want you to sacrifice for my dreams, Beatrice. You have the right to choose too. The conversation was interrupted by the ringing of the phone. It was Sophia, calling as she did every night since she had learned of the possible move. Hi, Bea. How are you two? We're fine. Still talking about... you know. Can I speak to your mum for a minute? Beatrice passed the phone to her mother, curious about what Sophia wanted to discuss. Mrs. Evans answered with her usual politeness. Hello, dear. How are you? Mrs. Evans, I know it's none of my business, but could I suggest something? My dad would really like to talk to you about the situation. He said he might be able to help find a solution. That's good for everyone. Mrs. Evans hesitated for a moment. She didn't want to seem like she was asking for favors or creating obligations. Sophia, dear, your father has already done so much for us. I can't ask for anything more. You're not asking for anything. My dad offered to help because he's very fond of you both. Please at least hear what he has to say. After a few moments of reflection, Mrs. Evans agreed to meet with Robert over the weekend. The meeting was scheduled for Saturday morning at the Middletons' house in an informal setting that might put Mrs. Evans more at ease. When the day came, Mrs. Evans put on her best clothes and headed to the gated community with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Robert received her in his home office, an elegant yet welcoming space with large windows overlooking the garden. Mrs. Evans, thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me, Robert said, offering her a cup of coffee. Sophia told me about the opportunity that has come up for you, and I thought I might be able to help in some way. Mr. Middleton, I don't want to create obligations or seem like I'm taking advantage, Mrs. Evans said, visibly uncomfortable. Please put that out of your mind, Robert replied with gentle firmness. What I'm about to propose is a business arrangement, not a favor. I believe it could be advantageous for everyone involved. Robert stood up and walked to the window, organizing his thoughts. For a few months now, I've been thinking about hiring someone to manage the domestic administration of this house. Not just cleaning, but complete management. Coordinating suppliers, handling maintenance, managing the family schedule. It's a job that requires responsibility, trust, and organization. Mrs. Evans listened, intently, not fully understanding where he was going with this. You have all those qualities, Robert continued. You know our way of life. Our family trusts you, and Beatrice is already part of our family circle. The salary would be equivalent to what they offered you in Manchester, would include the same benefits, and would also allow Beatrice to stay at the same school. The proposal left Mrs. Evans speechless. It was a solution she had never imagined possible. Mr. Middleton, it's more than I ever dreamed of. But I need to be sure it isn't charity in disguise. Robert smiled, understanding her concern. Mrs. Evans, managing a house like this is a serious and complex job. I need someone competent and trustworthy. You are the ideal person for this role. Besides, this would solve a problem for me while allowing you to seize a professional growth opportunity. And Sophia, does she know about this conversation? Sophia knows I wanted to talk to you, but she doesn't know about the specific proposal. I want the decision to be entirely yours without pressure from anyone. Mrs. Evans asked for a few days to think about the proposal. She needed to discuss it with Beatrice and be sure she was making the right decision for the right reasons, not just because of the girls' friendship. That night at home, she told Beatrice everything, who was ecstatic at the possibility of staying in London. Mum, this is perfect. You'll have an incredible professional opportunity, and I can continue with my studies and my friendship with Sophia. Dear, I need to be sure this is truly a good professional opportunity, not just a way for the Middleton family to help us out. I have too much pride to accept charity, even from people so dear to us. Beatrice reflected on her mother's words. Mum, Mr. Middleton is a very successful businessman. If he's offering this job, it's because he really needs someone competent, and you are the most competent person I know. Over the weekend, Mrs. Evans researched the salaries of household managers in high-end homes and discovered that Robert's offer was within the market rate, even slightly above average. This reassured her about the legitimacy of the proposal. On Monday, she called Robert to accept the position. Mr. Middleton, I accept your offer. When can I start? How about next week? That will give you time to leave your current job properly. When Sophia learned of the decision, her joy was infectious. She ran to hug Beatrice during the school break, shouting with happiness. "Bea, you're staying. You're staying." "Calm down, Sophia. Everyone's looking," Beatrice said, laughing at her friend's euphoria. "I don't care. My best friend is staying, and that's all that matters." The news spread quickly through the school. Mrs. Martha, who had been following the whole situation, sighed with relief. She had grown fond of that special pair and didn't want to see her class lose two such exceptional students. Mrs. Evans's transition to her new job went smoothly. Robert introduced her to all the household suppliers, explained the family's routines, and she quickly adapted to her new responsibilities. She managed the maintenance schedule, coordinated household shopping, supervised third-party staff, and still kept the house impeccable. "Mrs. Evans, you're doing an exceptional job," said Mary, Sophia's mother, after a few weeks. "Our life has become so much more organized since you started working with us." The new arrangement brought the two families even closer. Beatrice was at the Middletons' house almost daily, and Sophia got to know Mrs. Evans's daily life better, developing an even greater admiration for her efficiency and dedication. One afternoon, Robert called Beatrice into his study for a chat. "Beatrice, I want to talk about your plans for secondary school. Have you thought about which school you'd like to attend?" "Mr. Middleton, I plan to continue at the state school. I've been doing well there. It's a good school, no doubt, but I want you to consider other options as well." Robert opened a drawer and took out some brochures. "These are technical colleges and schools that offer scholarships to students with high academic performance. With your grades and your placement in the competition, you qualify for several of these opportunities." Beatrice examined the materials with growing interest. "But Mr. Middleton, even with a scholarship, there would be costs my mum can't cover. Leave the costs to me. Consider it an investment in the country's future. A brilliant mind like yours shouldn't be limited by financial matters." Beatrice felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Mr. Middleton, why are you doing all this for me?" Robert stood up and walked to the bookshelf, picking up a framed photo of his university graduation. "See this? Young man in the photo. That was me at 22, graduating in business from a public university. My family couldn't afford my studies." He showed the photo to Beatrice, pointing to an older man beside him. "This gentleman is Professor Anthony, my mentor. He believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. He helped me get internships, guided me on job opportunities, lent me money to buy books. Without him, I would never have gotten where I am today." Beatrice looked at the photo attentively, beginning to understand the parallel. "Professor Anthony once told me, 'Robert, when you make it, remember to extend a hand to those coming up behind you. Helping you is my way of honoring his memory and paying back everything I received.'" "Is he still alive?" "Unfortunately, no. He passed away 5 years ago, but I'm sure he would be proud to see this conversation happening." Beatrice stood up and hugged Robert sincerely. "Mr. Middleton, I promise I will take every opportunity, and one day I will help others just as you are helping me." "I know you will, Beatrice. You have something rare, talent, character, and determination. It's an unbeatable combination." That night, Beatrice told Sophia about her conversation with Robert and the possibilities that were opening up for her future. They were sitting in Sophia's room, surrounded by brochures from schools and universities. "B, this is fantastic. You'll be able to study at the best schools in the country," Sophia said, flipping through the materials with enthusiasm. "Sophia, I'm afraid this will change our friendship. What if I go to one of these schools and end up becoming a different person?" Sophia held her friend's hands firmly. "B, our friendship isn't based on where we study or how much money we have. It's based on who we are inside. You can study at the best school in the world and you'll still be the same Beatrice who stood up for me on that first day." "Are you sure?" "I'm absolutely sure. Besides, your success is my success too. I want to see you achieve all your dreams." The two friends spent the rest of the evening planning their futures, researching schools and universities, dreaming of the possibilities that lay before them. The crisis had been overcome, but more than that, it had strengthened the bonds between the two families and created opportunities that had seemed impossible just a few months earlier. As Mrs. Evans finished her chores in the kitchen of the Middleton house, she reflected on how life had changed in surprising ways. Beatrice's decision to defend Sophia on that first day had been an impulse from the heart, but it had triggered a series of events that completely transformed both their futures. In his study, Robert was finishing some financial reports when he received a text message from Professor Anthony's son, with whom he kept in occasional contact. "Dad would be proud," the message read, accompanied by a link to a newspaper article about the knowledge competition where Sophia and Beatrice had excelled. He smiled, looking at the photo on the bookshelf. Sometimes the best rewards in business didn't come in the form of money, but in the form of transformed lives and realized dreams. He was investing in Beatrice's future in the same way Professor Anthony had invested in him, with faith in human potential and the certainty that education is the most powerful tool for social change. The fourth chapter of Sophia and Beatrice's lives was closing, but it was merely a prelude to even greater transformations to come. Their friendship had overcome its first major test, and now it was preparing to face the challenges of adolescence and the complexities of growing up in worlds that, though brought together by affection, still held fundamental differences that would need to be navigated with care and maturity. 3 years had passed since that transformative moment in the classroom. Sophia and Beatrice, now 15, were about to start their first year of secondary school. The decision had been made after long conversations. Beatrice would attend the Wellington Preparatory Academy, one of London's best private schools, on a full scholarship earned through academic merit, while Sophia would continue in the state system, now at St. Jude's State School, known for its excellence in preparing students for university entrance exams. The physical separation represented the first major test for a friendship that had strengthened over the years. They had grown up together, shared victories and challenges, and now they would have to learn to maintain their connection in completely different environments. "B, are you sure our friendship will stay the same?" Sophia asked on the eve of the first day of school, as they walked through Hyde Park on a sunny February afternoon. "Sophia, are you starting with that insecurity again?" Beatrice replied with an affectionate smile. "We've been through much worse and came out stronger. A change of schools isn't going to destroy 3 years of true friendship. It's just that I keep thinking, you'll meet new people from a different social circle. What if you fit in better there?" Beatrice stopped walking and faced her friend seriously. "Sophia Middleton, listen to me carefully. You are my sister at heart. I can make 1,000 new friends, but I will never find someone who knows me and accepts me like you do. Our history cannot be erased or replaced." Beatrice's words reassured Sophia, but they both knew that changes were coming. Secondary school would bring greater academic challenges, new social circles, and the typical complexities of adolescence. The first day at the new school was revealing for Beatrice. The Wellington Preparatory Academy was impressive not only for its modern infrastructure, but for the atmosphere of excellence that permeated every hallway. The students spoke naturally about international travel, language courses, and planned careers at universities abroad. Beatrice immediately stood out in class. Her solid foundation, built during years of intense study with Sophia, gave her an advantage even over classmates who had attended private schools their whole lives. The teachers quickly noticed her exceptional potential. "Beatrice Smith," called the literature teacher, Dr. Henry, after a class on British Romanticism. "Your analysis of Wuthering Heights was exceptional. Where did you develop such interpretive skill?" "I've always loved to read, sir, and I was greatly influenced by a friend who taught me to see beyond the words," Beatrice replied simply. Sophia, for her part, faced her own challenges at the state school. Although it was a quality public institution, resources were limited compared to what Beatrice now experienced. But Sophia found extra motivation in her determination to prove that she could achieve excellence regardless of the circumstances. The two kept in daily contact through messages and calls, sharing the discoveries and frustrations of their new environments. On weekends, they would meet at the Middletons' house or in the park near the flat where Beatrice now lived with her mother, a more spacious place Mrs. Evans had been able to rent with her new salary. "Sophia, you should see my school's library," Beatrice said one Sunday afternoon. "It has books in English, French, German, and the computer lab has state-of-the-art computers." "I'm so jealous," Sophia joked. "Our computer lab still uses computers from the dawn of time." They laughed, but Sophia felt a pang of envy she tried to hide. The first significant change in their friendship's dynamic occurred when Beatrice began to participate in the school's student council. Her leadership ability and unique perspective on social issues quickly made her a respected voice among her peers. "Beatrice, we want you to be our candidate for student council president," proposed Mary, a classmate and daughter of a real estate developer. "You have social vision and natural charisma. You'd be perfect." The proposal left Beatrice divided. It was an incredible opportunity to make a difference at school, but it would also mean less time to dedicate to her studies and conversations with Sophia. "Can I think about it?" That night, she called Sophia to discuss the offer. "Sophia, I don't know what to do. It's a huge responsibility, but also a chance to create interesting social projects." "B, you have to accept," Sophia replied without hesitation. "You were born to lead. You've always had this desire to help people and fight for justice." "But what about our time? It's already hard to see each other during the week." "We'll adjust. True friendship is about supporting each other's dreams, not monopolizing time." Beatrice accepted the candidacy and, to the surprise of many, won the election by a significant margin. Her platform included social integration projects, a student-to-student tutoring program, and partnerships with state schools for the exchange of knowledge and resources. During the campaign, Sophia helped Beatrice prepare speeches and strategies, even without knowing the private school environment. "You need to talk about your experience in a state school," Sophia suggested. "That gives you a perspective no other candidate has." Beatrice's first project as student council president was to create a bridge between the Wellington Academy and local state schools. She proposed that private school students offer voluntary tutoring sessions for state school students preparing for university entrance exams. "It's a way of giving back the opportunities I've received," Beatrice explained during a meeting with the school's administration, "and also to show my classmates the reality of public education in the UK." The project was approved and became a landmark at the school. Sophia was one of the first beneficiaries, participating in study groups coordinated by Beatrice and other Wellington students. It was an interesting role reversal. Now Beatrice was in a position to help Sophia academically. "It's strange," Sophia commented during a study session on organic chemistry. "I remember when I used to help you with maths. Now you're the one saving me in physics." "That's how it works," Beatrice replied wisely. "Friendship is a constant give and take. Sometimes you help, sometimes I help. The important thing is that we're always there for each other." The success of the tutoring project brought recognition for Beatrice not only within the school, but in broader educational circles. She was invited to speak at seminars on social inclusion in education and was even interviewed by a magazine specializing in education. 16-year-old revolutionizes integration between public and private education, read the article's headline, accompanied by a photo of Beatrice alongside some of the students participating in the project. Sophia read the article with pride, but also with a touch of melancholy. Her best friend was becoming a minor celebrity in the educational world, while she remained just another student, fighting for a place at a good university. The tension Sophia felt began to manifest during the second semester of their first year. Beatrice, increasingly involved in extracurricular activities and student council commitments, had less time available for the weekly meetings they had kept religiously for years. "B, can I talk to you?" Sophia asked on a Friday, after waiting almost an hour for Beatrice at a coffee shop near her school. "Of course. Sorry I'm late. I had a meeting that ran over," Beatrice replied, visibly tired. "That's what I want to talk about. I feel like our friendship is changing, and I'm not sure it's for the better." Beatrice frowned, sensing the seriousness in Sophia's tone. "What? Do you mean? You're always busy, always rushing to some important commitment. When we talk, it feels like your mind is in 1,000 different places." Sophia paused, trying to organize her thoughts. "Sometimes I feel like you're outgrowing our friendship." Sophia's words hit Beatrice like a punch to the gut. She hadn't realized how her new responsibilities were affecting her relationship with the most important person in her life. "Sophia, I am so sorry. You're right. I've let myself get carried away by the rush and forgotten what's truly important." Beatrice held her friend's hands. "Our friendship is the most important thing in my life. Without you, none of what I'm doing would make sense. I'm not asking you to abandon your projects. I just want our friendship to remain a priority. And it will. I promise I'll find a better balance." The conversation marked an important turning point. Beatrice began to organize her schedule in a way that always made quality time for Sophia, even if it meant declining some invitations or delegating responsibilities in the student council. During the July holidays, they took a trip to the beach together, a tradition they had started the previous year. Robert and Mary offered their holiday home in Brighton, and the two spent a whole week reconnecting without the distractions of school life. "Thank you for listening to my concerns that day," Sophia said, as they walked along the beach at sunset. "I know it wasn't easy to hear that I was feeling neglected. Thank you for having the courage to confront me. Real friends do that, even when it's hard." Beatrice picked up shells from the sand as she spoke. "You helped me realize that success without the people we love is empty. And you showed me that. I can support your dreams without feeling diminished by them." The trip reinforced their bond and established a new, more mature dynamic for their friendship. They learned that personal growth and deep friendship could coexist as long as there was honest communication and a conscious effort to maintain the connection. Back at school, Beatrice implemented changes in her routine that allowed her to maintain a balance between academic responsibilities, leadership activities, and time with Sophia. She delegated more tasks in the student council, created fixed times for personal study, and established that Saturday afternoons would always be reserved for her friend. Sophia in turn began to get more actively involved in the projects Beatrice led, not just as a beneficiary, but as a collaborator. She helped organize events, suggested improvements to the tutoring programs, and even presented some activities to the Wellington students. "Sophia has a unique perspective on the challenges of public education," Beatrice said during a student council meeting. "She should be part of our coordination team." The suggestion was accepted, and Sophia became a sort of external consultant for the private school's social projects. It was a position that gave her purpose and kept her connected to Beatrice's successes in a collaborative way, not just as a spectator. The end of the first year of secondary school arrived with both girls having grown immensely, both academically and personally. Beatrice had learned to balance personal ambitions with important relationships, while Sophia had discovered ways to contribute significantly even from her position in the state school. "Do you remember that first day when you stood up for me during the professions presentation?" Sophia asked on one of the last afternoons of the school year. "Like it was yesterday," Beatrice replied, smiling. "Who would have thought that moment would change our lives completely? And the best part is we're still together even after all the changes. We always will be, Sophia, no matter where life takes us." The two were sitting on the same park bench where they had talked countless times over the years. The setting was familiar, but they were different people now, more mature, more aware of their potential and limitations, more prepared for the challenges the future would surely bring. As they watched the city's hustle and bustle at dusk, they both reflected on the lessons learned during that year of transformations. Their friendship had been tested and had emerged stronger, but they knew that new challenges lay ahead. The second and third years of secondary school would bring the pressure of university entrance exams, decisions about careers, and perhaps the need for choices that could lead them down different paths. But at that moment, sitting side by side as they had done hundreds of times before, they knew they possessed something rare and precious. A friendship based on mutual respect, unconditional support, and the certainty that regardless of where their individual journeys took them, they would always have in each other a safe harbor to return to. The third year of secondary school arrived, laden with an intensity that Sophia and Beatrice had never before experienced. It was December of 2015, and both were on the verge of taking the most important university entrance exams of their lives. The pressure was palpable not only for them, but for their families, who had invested so much in their dreams. Beatrice had become one of the most respected students at the Wellington Academy, not just for her exceptional grades, but for the transformative leadership she wielded. Her social projects had gained national recognition, and she had received invitations from American universities interested in her academic and social profile. Her dream of studying law had evolved into something even more ambitious. She wanted to study international relations with a focus on human rights. Sophia, for her part, had distinguished herself at St. Jude's State School as one of the best students in the institution's history. Her determination to prove that public education could produce students of excellence had led her to win first place in maths and physics competitions. Her dream was to study engineering at University College London, following a passion for technology she had discovered during her secondary school years. "Sophia, have you decided on your second choice course?" Beatrice asked one November afternoon as they studied together at the public library, just as they had since primary school. "I'm still thinking. And you? Have you decided between Harvard and Columbia?" Beatrice sighed, closing the sociology book she was reading. "This is the hardest decision of my life. Harvard offers the best program, but Columbia has a more attractive full scholarship. And UCL? Aren't you going to try for here too?" "I will, of course. It's always good to have options." Beatrice paused, observing Sophia's expression. "Sophia, can I ask you a question?" "Of course, always." "Are you okay with the possibility of me studying in the United States? I know it would mean being apart for a few years." The question Beatrice had asked echoed fears Sophia had been carrying for months, but hadn't had the courage to verbalize. The possibility of her best friend moving to another country was something she tried not to think about, focusing only on her own studies and preparation. I want what's best for you, I always have. If this opportunity is the best for your future, then I fully support it." Sophia forced a smile that couldn't completely hide the sadness in her eyes. "But I confess, I'll miss you terribly." "Sophia, our friendship has survived so many changes. Geographical distance won't change what we've built." "I know that in my head, but my heart is still afraid." The two hugged right there in the library, aware that they were living the final months of a golden phase of their lives, where they could easily meet and share every discovery and worry almost instantly. The first UCL entrance exam took place on a cold November morning. Sophia and Beatrice left home together, supporting each other in the final moments of pre-exam nerves. Robert had offered his car and driver to take them to the exam location, a gesture Sophia interpreted as the paternal affection he had developed for her over the years. "Girls, remember that you've already won just by getting this far," Robert said, before they entered the university. "Regardless of the results, I'm proud of the women you've become." The exam was challenging, but both left with the feeling of having given their best. On the way back, they discussed specific questions and discovered they had had similar interpretations for most of the problems, which made them more confident. "I think it went well," Sophia commented, leaning back in the car seat. "I agree. Now we just have to wait and hope." 2 weeks later, the day of the results arrived. Sophia and Beatrice had arranged to check their results together at the Middletons' house, surrounded by the people they loved most. Mrs. Evans, Robert, Mary, and even Mr. Charles, who had continued tutoring them both, were present to share this crucial moment. "Let's open them together on 3, Beatrice suggested, with the laptop on the table between them. 1, 2, 3. They both clicked on their respective results simultaneously. For a few seconds, that felt like an eternity. Only the sound of heavy breathing filled the room. Then, cries of joy erupted almost at the same time. I got into engineering!" Sophia shouted, jumping out of her chair. "I got in too, international relations!" Beatrice replied, hugging her friend tightly. The room exploded in celebration. Mrs. Evans cried with emotion, seeing her daughter achieve something that had always seemed impossible. Robert hugged Sophia as if she were his own daughter, proud of the determination she had shown over the years. "You both did it," Mary said, emotional. "At the same university. You'll be able to keep supporting each other during your studies." The celebration lasted all night, but deep down, both Sophia and Beatrice knew there was still a pending decision. What Beatrice would do about the offers from the American universities. The answer came a week later, on an afternoon when the two were walking through the UCL campus, getting to know the place where they would spend the next few years studying. "Sophia, I need to tell you something," Beatrice said, stopping in front of the university's main library. "Go on." "Harvard confirmed my full scholarship. They want me to start next semester." Sophia felt her heart race, but she kept her expression calm. "B, that's incredible. It's the chance of a lifetime." "It is, but it also means leaving you, my family, everything I've built here." Beatrice sat on a nearby bench, clearly distressed by the decision. "Beatrice Smith, look at me," Sophia said, sitting next to her friend. "Do you remember what you told me on that first day, that I shouldn't be afraid to be who I am? Now I'm the one saying that to you." "But Sophia, there are no buts. You have the opportunity to study at the best university in the world. If you don't accept, you'll regret it for the rest of your life, and I would never forgive myself for being an obstacle to your dreams." Beatrice began to cry, a mixture of emotion at her friend's generosity and sadness at the inevitable separation. "How can you be so generous? I would be devastated if it were the other way around. Because you taught me what true friendship is. True friendship is wanting what's best for the other person, even when it causes us personal pain." Sophia also had tears in her eyes, but her voice remained firm. "Besides, 4 years go by fast, and with today's internet, we'll talk every day. Are you sure our friendship will survive the distance and the time?" Sophia stood up and extended her hand to Beatrice. "Come with me." They walked to a century-old tree in the middle of the campus, a massive fig tree that had witnessed generations of students. "See this tree? It was here when our great-grandparents were young. It's been through wars, political changes, technological revolutions, but it remains firm, growing, adapting." Beatrice looked at the tree attentively, trying to understand the parallel. "Our friendship is like this tree. It has roots so deep that no matter what storms come, it will keep growing. The distance is just another change of season." At that moment, Beatrice knew what her decision would be. 2 months later, Sophia and the entire Middleton family were at Heathrow Airport, saying goodbye to Beatrice. Mrs. Evans was visibly emotional, proud of her daughter, but sad about the separation. Robert had helped with all the travel preparations and had offered to cover any extra needs that might arise in the United States. "Beatrice, you are going to make a difference in the world," Robert said, giving her a fatherly hug. "And you will always have a family here in the UK waiting for you. Mr. Middleton, without you and your family, none of this would be possible. I promise I will honor every opportunity I've been given." When the time came for Sophia and Beatrice to say goodbye, they both tried to maintain their composure, but it was impossible to hold back the tears. "B, you're going to kill it at Harvard. You'll become a diplomat, you'll change the world, and I'll be here cheering for your every victory. Sophia, you're going to shine in engineering too. You'll invent technologies that will improve people's lives. And when I come back, I want to hear about all your achievements." They hugged for long minutes, savoring the last moments of physical closeness they would have for a few years. "Promise you'll tell me everything? The struggles, the joys, the fears?" "I promise, and you promise you'll achieve your dreams without feeling guilty that I'm far away?" "I promise." The flight was called for boarding, and Beatrice had to head to the gate. Sophia watched until she disappeared into the departure area, feeling a mixture of immense pride and anticipated longing. The months that followed were an adjustment for both of them. Sophia dedicated herself intensely to her engineering studies, discovering an even greater passion for the field than she had imagined. She got involved in research projects, study groups, and even started developing apps focused on education, inspired by years of seeing the challenges of the state school system. Beatrice, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, faced the initial challenges of adapting to a new culture and educational system. Her humble origins, which initially made her feel out of place among classmates from wealthy families, soon became her greatest strength. She brought unique perspectives on social inequality and human rights that enriched academic debates and caught the attention of professors. "Sophia, you won't believe this," Beatrice said during a video call on a Saturday morning. "My international human rights professor invited me to be his research assistant. I'm going to help with a project on access to education in developing countries." "Bear, that's fantastic. You are literally living your dream. And you? How's the app project going?" "We're in the final testing phase. If all goes well, we'll launch next semester. It's an app that helps state school students prepare for university entrance exams." "Sophia, I'm so proud. You're turning your personal experience into something that will help thousands of people. Their weekly calls became the highlight of the week for both of them. They shared academic discoveries, personal challenges, and kept alive the connection that had been fundamental in shaping them as people. 2 years later, Sophia received an unexpected call from Beatrice on a Tuesday night. "Sophia, I have incredible news to tell you." "Tell me, I'm dying to know." "They offered me an internship at the United Nations Development Program here in New York. It's a unique opportunity to work directly with global educational policies." Sophia felt a mix of joy and concern. "B, that's incredible. But does that mean it'll be even longer before you come back to the UK?" "Actually, that's what I want to talk about. The internship has a specific project focused on Latin America. They want someone who deeply understands the educational reality in Brazil." Beatrice paused dramatically. "Sophia, they want me to spend 6 months in Brazil developing this project, and I suggested São Paulo as the base of operations." Sophia almost dropped the phone. "Are you serious? You're coming back?" "Temporarily, yes. And Sophia, I wanted to know if you'd be willing to work with me on this project. Your educational app is exactly the kind of technological innovation they want to study and potentially expand." "Beatrice Smith, are you offering me a job with you on a UN initiative?" "I'm offering us the chance to achieve the dream we had as kids together, to change the world through education." Sophia began to cry with emotion. The girl who had been defended in a classroom 8 years ago was now offering a professional opportunity that could transform her career and impact thousands of lives. 6 months later, on a sunny March day in 2019, Sophia was at Guarulhos Airport again, but this time she was waiting for Beatrice to arrive. When she saw her emerge from the arrivals area, more mature, more confident, but with the same warm smile as always, all her worries about change and distance disappeared. "B!" Sophia shouted, running to hug her. "Friend!" "Sophia, wow, you look so different. More professional," Beatrice joked, observing her friend's more mature look. "And you look like an international diplomat," Sophia replied, laughing, "but your eyes are still the same." The reunion was magical. Within minutes they fell back into their old easy rhythm, as if the 2 years of distance had been only a few days. They had so much to talk about, experiences to share, and now a joint professional project to develop. In the months that followed, working together on the UN project, Sophia and Beatrice rediscovered how their different skills and perspectives complemented each other perfectly. Sophia brought the technological knowledge and practical implementation vision, while Beatrice contributed the political and strategic international perspective. The project became a success that exceeded all expectations. Sophia's app was adapted and expanded to meet specific needs identified by Beatrice's research, and the pilot initiative in São Paulo became a model for implementation in other Latin American countries. During the project's final presentation, held at the UN headquarters in New York, with Sophia and Beatrice as the main presenters, they both reflected on the extraordinary journey that had taken them from a classroom in São Paulo to an auditorium at the United Nations. "When I look at you two," said Robert, who had flown in especially to watch the presentation, "I see the materialization of everything that education can achieve. You have transformed your own lives, and now you are transforming the lives of others." Mrs. Evans, elegantly dressed for the occasion, watched her daughter with tears of pride in her eyes. "My girl," she whispered as Beatrice finished her part of the presentation, "you've reached a place I never even dreamed was possible." After the presentation, Sophia and Beatrice walked together through the streets of New York, processing the magnitude of what they had just accomplished together. "B, do you remember that day in the library when you said you wanted to be a lawyer to help people who needed justice?" "I remember it perfectly. You did it. It might not be exactly as you imagined, but you are fighting for social justice on a global scale. And do you remember when you said you wanted to use technology to improve people's lives? Your app has already helped over 50,000 Brazilian students." They stopped in front of the UN building, watching the flags of all the countries fluttering in the afternoon wind. "Sophia, there's something I need to tell you," Beatrice began, with a seriousness that caught her friend's attention. "Go on." all the success I've achieved, every opportunity I've received, it all started on that day when you were being humiliated and I decided to stand up and defend you." Beatrice held Sophia's hands. "If I hadn't done that, I never would have met your family. I never would have received the opportunities your father gave me. I never would have discovered my potential." B. Let me finish. What I'm trying to say is that our friendship didn't just change our personal lives. It created a ripple effect that is now impacting thousands of other lives. The courage I showed that day multiplied into all the opportunities that followed. Sophia was silent for a moment, absorbing the depth of her friend's words. "You know what I think?" Sophia said finally. "I think we were exactly what the other needed at that moment. You needed to find your voice and your leadership power. I needed to learn about courage, loyalty, and true friendship. The universe brought us together because together we are better than we are apart. We always have been, and we always will be." That night, during the celebration dinner, Robert made a toast that perfectly summarized the extraordinary journey that had begun 8 years earlier in a simple classroom. "To Sophia and Beatrice," he said, raising his glass, "who taught us that when one person stands up for what is right, they are not just protecting one person. They are planting seeds that can blossom into transformative change for the entire world. To the friendship that became a life's mission," added Mrs. Evans, her eyes shining with pride, "and to the dreams that came true because two girls believed in each other," finished Mary. Sophia and Beatrice looked at each other, seeing reflected in one another all the shared experiences, all the overcome challenges, all the victories won together. They had started as two unlikely friends, had grown up facing social differences and geographical distances, and now found themselves as accomplished, professionally successful women, still deeply connected by the most important friendship of their lives. The journey that had begun with a simple act of courage in a classroom had transformed into a story of personal transformation, social overcoming, and global impact. And the most beautiful thing of all was knowing that this story was still just beginning. Dear listeners, we hope the journey of Sophia and Beatrice has deeply touched your hearts. This story reminds us that true friendship knows no social barriers, that the courage to stand up for what is right can transform lives, and that when we believe in each other's potential, we can achieve dreams that seemed impossible. If this narrative moved you, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments which moment resonated with you the most. Every day, we bring stories like this one, which explore the beauty and complexity of human relationships, showing how love, friendship, and determination can overcome any obstacle. Until the next episode, remember, sometimes the simplest gesture can be the beginning of the most extraordinary transformation.